Hot flashes are not a hormone problem. Well, not entirely. I know that's not what you've been told. But here's what I've seen in practice. Two women with the exact same hormone profile. One gets drenched during the most important meeting of her career. The other sails through life with few symptoms or none at all. Same hormone profile. We can't blame estrogen. It's seven underlying physiological stressors that most doctors don't ask you about and rarely check. I'm Erica Christine, your midlife health detective. So let's investigate. So here's what's actually happening. Your body has a stress response system, and these hot flashes are just one of its alarm signals. Your blood sugar, your gut, your sleep, your nervous system, your cellular stress load, it all adds up. These systems don't work in isolation and they all talk to one another and affect one another. And when more than one of them is under pressure at the same time, that's when the hot flashes hit. The good news is when you know which systems are struggling, you can start supporting them. So you're no longer reacting to the unplanned hot flashes. Instead, you're now mitigating the risk and you're limiting the severity and the frequencies of the hot flashes you have. If we were to use the analogy of a play, your hormone is basically the script. Stress, blood sugar, energy are the actors on the stage reading the lines of the script. A glass of wine, a spicy lunch, a little bit too much caffeine. None of these in isolation is actually going to cause your hot flashes. But if your system is already stressed, any one of those can throw it over the edge. This starting to sound maybe familiar? A small trigger having a much larger reaction than it should in this situation? Hold on to that because it's about to make a lot more sense. And now that we talked about the hormones acting as the script in this play, it's time to get to the cast of characters because they're a pretty tight knit bunch. So, driver number two is your nervous system and your stress response. And I think all of us know what that cortisol, high stress feeling is like, where we're absolutely wired and we can't stop thinking. The brain is just continuing to go, but our bodies are physically exhausted. And we can nickname this as wired and tired. We all know what that feels like. So just imagine you've had a really stressful meeting or a difficult conversation, maybe even an argument. A deadline is looming. Your cortisol spikes. And sometimes that hot flash doesn't even hit until hours later, maybe even the next day if it's been building for a while. This is your nervous system amplifying the signal long after that trigger is gone. And cortisol doesn't just cause stress, it layers with everything else your body's already managing. Start tracking this. Does stress come before your worst hot flashes, even maybe the day before? Let's look at another co-star or driver number three, and this is blood sugar. And this one catches a lot of women off guard. So a couple of things: skipping breakfast. And then by mid-morning, you grab a muffin or a granola bar, something light, and you're running on coffee until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Every spike and crash in your blood sugar triggers cortisol that we just talked about. And cortisol, as we know, amplifies those hot flashes. Many of us women in midlife are also trying to lose a little bit of weight. And, we've come from maybe years, if not decades, of under eating or dieting. So we're used to skipping meals. Many women in midlife are unintentionally creating this vicious cycle. Under eating, grabbing a quick high sugar, high carb snack, spikes, crashes, and then flashes. So you can kind of connect the dots. Under eating, spiking, crashing, flashing. Stress and blood sugar are tag teaming on your body. So I want you to think about your morning routine. What you eat or don't eat before 10 a.m. has a huge influence on what your afternoon is going to look like. Okay, and now driver number four, which is your gut health and digestion. Your gut doesn't just digest food. It directly connects with your hormones, your nervous system, and all the inflammation pathways. So the overall health of that microbiome does make a huge difference. Bloating, IBS, food sensitivities, gut inflammation, they all are physiological stressors, and your whole body can become more reactive. A flash that could have been mild turns into a full-blown wave when your digestion is off. Here's another quick check. Think about the days when your hot flashes are bad. Is your digestion off? Okay, 4 drivers in. Let's pause for a second. Are you starting to notice what's happening here? we're not really talking about just one driver or one problem. We're talking about systems stacking on top of one another. If this is starting to click for you, hit subscribe. You're essentially building a health detective toolkit for your own body. And I release new videos every week. Now, the other three drivers. Let's keep going. Now we're going to get into metabolic health and energy. So if your labs look normal and you still feel exhausted, consider brain fog, stubborn weight around your middle, crashing by 2 p.m. These aren't just normal symptoms of aging. They're signs that your energy system is struggling to keep up. When your metabolic health is low, your body loses that buffer. So every other driver is going to hit much harder. Stress is intensified, blood sugar swings are steeper, and those hot flashes, you got it, they're more intense. One driver at a time might not have much impact, but poor energy plus stress plus a bad night's sleep starts adding up and crosses the threshold for those hot flashes. Okay, driver 6. And this one is your immune system functioning and inflammation. Subtle signs include joint stiffness or pain, skin flaring up, feeling run down even after a full night's sleep, catching colds more frequently, or having them linger for longer than they usually do. These are signs of immune activity, and when your immune system is kicked off, it can amplify the hot flashes. For those of us with autoimmunity, you might notice during times of flares, your hot flashes hit especially hard. And here's where I'm going to speak directly to my Gen X sisters and those early stage millennials. We've spent our entire lives pushing through. We've pushed through with career, our families, both parents and kids, and our social lives. And this chronic push drives silent inflammation. Now our bodies are starting to tell us it's not going to be ignored anymore. All right, the final of the 7 drivers, which is oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is just a fancy term for your body's overall cellular stress load. Factors like poor sleep, a diet of highly processed foods, lots of sugar, environmental toxins, so pollutants, chemicals, and just doing too much for too long raises up that oxidative stress level. And this acts like a subtle volume knob, if you will, on every driver that we've talked about. That's not random. It's your body operating at different thresholds. And the more we learn about thresholds, the more we can take back our control because it's something we can influence. All right, so let's take a step back and look at the big picture. Here's what's actually happening when a hot flash hits. So let's take a step back. See, remember, hot flashes aren't random, and they're often not as unpredictable as we think they are. They're your body's stress response trying to communicate with you. The question is, are you ready to start listening? I need to remind you that you are not broken. You're not just getting older. Your body is giving you clues. In the next video, I'll walk you through practical ways that you can support each of these systems as they relate to hot flashes. So you can influence the hot flashes, their severity and intensity, and not just react to them. Before you go, though, leave a comment below and tell me which pattern or symptom did you notice most, and what are you starting to learn? I do read every single comment, and honestly, your feedback helps me prepare for what I release next. And if this opened your eyes or caused you to see things in an entirely different way, subscribe and hit the notification bell. You're not going to want to miss what's coming next. Let's keep investigating together. I will see you in the next one.